Hello, welcome to another screencast where this time we'll be discussing the functional anatomy of the liver and the gallbladder. And so this is one of three screencasts I've made here about the intestines, gallbladder, liver, and the pancreas. So this time we'll be identifying and describing here the gross and microscopic and functional anatomy of the liver and the gallbladder, and then be able to describe and explain here the production and secretion of bile, as well as a little bit about that hepatic portal circulation. And not shown on there for some reason is information about the gallbladder and its structure and function. So let's get started here. The liver is the largest gland in the body, suspended from the diaphragm, and you see that located here, and the diaphragm would be right here. Now that liver is suspended from the diaphragm mainly by this falciform ligament. That falciform ligament here then separates this right lobe and the left lobe of the liver. And again, that's an anterior view, and you see the gallbladder just peeking out underneath here of that right lobe, so that is inferior and to that right lobe. If we look at an inferior view then of the liver, so we flip it up and look at it from underneath this way, here we plainly see the gallbladder here, and in some fresh specimens, the preserved specimens rather, that we see some of that gallbladder is indeed a greenish tint there. And again, we can identify the right lobe. Here is again, the falciform ligament separating that right lobe from the left lobe. The quadrate lobe is here medial to the gallbladder, right? So it's between that gallbladder and the falciform ligament there. And we also see the fourth lobe, the caudate lobe, caudate or tail, and that is on the posterior side right here. We can also see the liver's relationship here to the inferior vena cava, and so the blood will be going this direction up into that inferior vena cava, returning to the heart. Pardon me. And we now look at then finally a superior view of the liver down here. Again, here we can identify the inferior vena cava. This is the right lobe. Here's the left lobe. Here's that falciform ligament. And then we can see the esophagus just peeking in here as well, posterior to that liver. And again, the diaphragm would be, from a superior view, the diaphragm would be covering all of this superiorly. Actually, the diaphragm would go around this, and the diaphragm would go around that. And so this would all be the diaphragm on top of that liver there. Okay. So let's look at a microscopic anatomy here of the liver a little bit. So when we look at this liver, we see these hexagonal groupings of cells and tissues here. And if we look at the center of each one of those hexagonal groupings, we see that there is a vein. Right? And so the liver is one of the functions of the liver is to process the blood that's coming from the small intestine. So we're going to have blood flowing through this liver. Right? So where's the blood coming from? Well, the blood here is coming from the digestive tract, right? And also then from the aorta. So the blood from the aorta here has, of course, oxygen rich in it, and this blood from the digestive tract is CO2 rich, but really what's interesting down here is that from the digestive tract, this is going to have carbs that have been absorbed. It's going to have proteins or amino acids that have been absorbed, and it's going to have lipids that have been absorbed here, and that blood is flowing in, right, and this way, and this blood from the aorta is flowing in and this way. And then associated with that as well as you have these the hepatic duct, the hepatic portal vein right there, and this hepatic artery. So these hepatic ducts right here are going to be picking up bile, right? And so the cells that are here, right, these yellowy cells here, are going to be producing bile, and bile is going to be flowing this direction. So blood flows this way, bile flows this direction, and those three things together are called this portal triad. So again, a hepatic duct, hepatic portal vein. This is the hepatic portal vein, hepatic portal vein, right? Taking blood from the digestive tract to the liver, and then this hepatic artery bringing oxygenated blood there. So you see that these cells are, the cells of the liver are getting oxygenated blood from this artery here, but they're also getting blood that's rich in digestive and absorbed products here, right? And so the cells here that line this are processing some of those carbs, those proteins, those lipids, right? And then that blood continues past those cells and then will enter the hepatic vein, right? And then go on to the vena cava. So that pattern is repeated in all of these lobules here, or lobules, that are those hexagonal pieces there. I was going to mention here that this gets confusing easily, right? Because this is the hepatic portal vein, and then this is the hepatic vein, right? And so blood goes from the hepatic portal vein into these sinusoids, or to these little capillary beds here, and then from these little capillary beds into this hepatic vein, which then is going to drain to the inferior vena cava. Right? At the same time, you have these cells here again that are producing this bile, and that bile is going down. Right? And again, here's the arrow here. So one of the main functions of this liver is to produce bile, but also to filter and process some of those digested, absorbed materials. Right? So I use that word sinusoid here, and so this hepatic sinusoid is sort of, you can sort of think of it as a capillary bed. Right? One final thing, and I don't see it mentioned on here. Oh no, here we go. We have these hepatic phagocytic cells that are also here, and these play an immune system role, right? Because any bacteria or viruses, right? So bacteria, viruses that may have gotten across the digestive tract there, been absorbed into the bloodstream, these phagocytic cells here are going to be watching out for these bacteria and viruses, and will play roles in helping to eliminate those from the body. So let's just consider that blood flow one more time here. So here we see the liver up here. Here's the gallbladder. This is the hepatic portal vein. So that hepatic portal vein is taking blood, again, to the liver, and there's several branches there. So then in the liver, right in between here, would be all those sinusoids, or those hexagonal those hexagonal lobules with that central vein there that's going to drain them to the hepatic vein. Right? And you would have the triad here, right? Blood be flowing in this way, and then all those are going to drain into this hepatic vein, which then, of course, will continue to go and then feed into that inferior vena cava. So again, the order of blood flow leading to the liver is hepatic portal vein, into the sinusoids, then into the hepatic veins, then into this inferior vena cava. Well, and like I said, the hepatic portal vein is bringing blood from the small intestine, so that's what you can see down here. So the superior mesenteric vein is the main one that's going to be draining all the small intestine. So this is all right here, small intestine, right? And you see all of these veins right here. Blood is going in this direction from all the superior mesenteric veins, right, delivering blood up this way. You also have the splenic vein over here, draining the spleen and pancreas area, right? But we're going to focus, I'm going to just focus mainly here on that superior mesenteric vein. Okay, might be a good idea here to pause and sort of go through all of that again, right? Organize that for yourself, see where the confusions are. Again, flipping back and forth between this image, I think, and this one would be helpful. Right? Finally, let's just talk quickly here about the gallbladder. So here's the gallbladder, and one of the liver's jobs, in addition to filtering the blood, is to produce bile. Now that bile is, again, produced here in these sinusoids, and the bile, it will then drain down this and go to this common bile duct. So let's look for the common bile duct on this image right here. Again, this is the liver flipped up, so this is an inferior view, right, of this. Here's the left lobe, here's the right lobe, and then there's that quadrate lobe right there. So let's look for those hepatic ducts, and right here there's a left and right hepatic duct, right? The right and the left hepatic duct. They drain into this common hepatic duct. Right? So bile will go from here to here, and then when the bile is being produced, it's going to actually hang it right here and go up and be stored in the gallbladder. So the gallbladder here, again, is just a storage for bile. The cystic duct right here is a two-way passageway. So when bile is being produced, it's going to go this way and get stored in the gallbladder. But then when a lipid-rich meal enters the duodenum, the gallbladder is signaled to contract, so that gallbladder contracts, and then the bile is squeezed down the cystic duct, and then will enter into the common bile duct right here. So this is confusing sometimes because you have bile in the hepatic duct, right, the left and right hepatic ducts, into the common hepatic duct, right? And then that bile eventually, when it leaves the gallbladder, then will go down into the common bile duct. So this just takes practice in getting these terms right. And then that bile leaves the common hepatic duct here at that major duodenal papilla right there. So that's the gallbladder and its relationship to the liver and bile. So hopefully now you should be able to identify and describe here the gross and microscopic functional anatomy of the liver as well as the gallbladder, and then be able to talk here a little bit about explaining the production and the secretion of bile, and also there a little bit about the hepatic portal circulation, as well as E here, the gallbladder and the associated ducts and associated ducts. Okay, thanks for listening. Bring your questions to class.